Right, hello everybody, welcome back to, well, it is Social Club because it's Monday and we're talking about the weekend's action, but it's a Social Club with a twist. Now the boys up north are unable to sort us out this week with some Social Club action, but no bother, don't worry, me and Flav are here to save the day again for Ball Street, and we're going to be talking about an intriguing weekend of football. We'll be talking about, of course, Liverpool City, because we kind of have to. It was such a big game, despite being very, very boring. But first we're going to start off in a spot where we haven't really been chatting football on the channel recently, but 9 wins on the spin, and it's all looking a lot more rosy in North London at Arsenal. But are they title challengers? A lot of people starting to use that phrase. Are they title challengers? Do they have a chance this season? Flav, I've got some strong feelings on this one. Which I divulged briefly on the kickoff yesterday, but I will get into more detail soon. But I want to, as a Spurs fan who doesn't really want to give Arsenal any credit whatsoever, can you give them any credit? What's going right?
Of course you can. I mean, you have to. What's going right is that I think under Wenger they went stale. It's not a story. It's not a surprise to anybody. Emery's come in and has a grace period, and instead of kind of those results not potentially going Arsenal's way, and that grace period, a transitional period, being quite difficult, actually they're getting the results where they should. They had 2 insanely difficult games in Chelsea and Man City at the start of the season, and since then they've been pretty much unstoppable. 9 on the bounce. They're winning games, and people might say, the teams they're playing are of lesser quality than Arsenal, and that this is kind of flat track bully behaviour. But in order to win the league, in order to challenge for trophies, you have to be flat track bullies. It's the bog standard. So they're doing all that's asked of them, and to say that they're not at this stage of the season, where the way the table lies, 2 points off the top, in incredible form, that they can't challenge for the title is foolhardy. Now, obviously, things might change, and they probably will change in football. But as it stands currently, with the forward line they've got, and the way Emery's got them playing going forward, no one can, at this stage, say that they aren't challenges. Go on then.
I'll say it. And look, and I don't feel anything towards Arsenal whatsoever. But it is way too early to be saying that Arsenal can do anything this season. I think there's an improvement there, but you'll remember this Arsenal side, I think it might have been last season, didn't they win 15, or it might have been the season before, they won 15 on the bounce or something like that. They were flying at one point, and you've said this yourself, 1 defeat, 2 defeats, and the feeling will change a little bit. And we're going to get to Liverpool and Man City, and Liverpool are having a great time of it, but have gone through a really difficult series of games. And the feeling and the mood around Liverpool has tweaked and changed a little bit from that. So for Arsenal to be called title challengers, I stand by what I said at the start of the season. This Arsenal squad is no way near the level yet. Like, you've got to look, Aubameyang, look, there's good stats here. Like, he's been involved in more goals than any other player in 2018. 16 goals, 5 assists. Look, he's great. I think Ramsey's in great form. He's got that kind of swagger of a player who's kind of fighting for a contract. There's a kind of freedom that he's kind of in the shop window as well, and scored a great goal. Lacazette is a great striker. But behind that, you've still got a dodgy defence, and they've not really played anyone in the last 9 games.
Yeah, look, but you can only beat what's put in front of you. And at this stage of the season, like I said, they're 2 points off the top. They're in great form. You can't argue against them. Now, I guess if you're projecting, if you're looking towards the future, you think, right, well, we won't really know until they're tested, until they play. They've got Spurs next month, and when they have to face Man City again, and we'll see the level of progression that they've made. But at this stage, they've done everything that's asked of them. And then you look at their front line, and he's got them playing in a way that Wenger wasn't able to last season. And they look very exciting. From Arsenal fans' perspective, they're going to be excited, and they'll cause any defence any problems. I get, though, that their issue really still is that defensive pairing, I think, of Socrates and Mustafi. They are both decent centre backs in their own right, but are they league winning centre backs?
That's it for me. Yeah, and I think I agree with a lot of what you're saying there, mate. And I'm probably being a bit too harsh on Arsenal because the baby steps are there, and that's how it starts, isn't it? You need to get the fans back on board. And Arsenal fans were saying a lot. And let us know in the comments below what you think about this. Where are Arsenal? Are they because for me, I think they are moving forward. I think I thought the game against Fulham, you saw a Fulham side who were naive and a little bit arrogant in the way that they set out against Arsenal. And the thing with Arsenal is Arsenal are way better than the other 14 sides in that league. And so the first stage of this, it isn't. I don't think it's even getting in the top 4. It's can you get consistency? Can you get a lot more dynamism? Can you have a squad that can sort of dig in a bit more and also can just show a bit more kind of energy, because that was the big thing last year, was that it had gotten so stale, as you said. And all of those, look, Emery's ticked all those boxes so far. We're not really going to know where Arsenal are until, again, they play these bigger sides and you see where they are in terms of the big things, finishing the top 4 and challenging for the title.
I think that game against Tottenham next month is a good indicator of where they're at. At this stage, you can be very excited if you're an Arsenal fan, I think.
Do you know what Arsenal fans they've been calm as well. Like you say, those first couple of games were difficult, and then it was from then on you needed to kind of figure it out. It took them a few games to get rid of Guendouzi and put Torreira in, which everyone could see was what they needed. And now it is starting to click. I think that they might look back at those 2 fixtures, although they've obviously lost those games, but to then have that nice run of games where you can start to put a run together and win some games, and that in the long run that might be it might put them in good stead, because like you say, there's only so many games you can play against the top 6. You've got to beat the best of the rest, and they are doing that, so you've got to be impressed with that.
I think you're right though. You're right about the about having a kind run of games can change perception at a football club, and sometimes you need that to get back on the front foot and start building again. I think in this instance, it's such an emphatic win against Fulham that it's an indicator that something is going right at Arsenal.
I don't think. Look, this is football fandom at its best. You only feel as good as your last result. And Liverpool, who every Liverpool fan is so excited. And let's talk about Liverpool Man City now, because the game yesterday at Anfield was probably. You can look at it 2 ways. One, it was an intriguing stalemate. The other way you can look at it, it was boring, and essentially 2 teams who are more concerned with not losing the game than either of them really, really winning the game. And that's probably the way that I see it. I think, again, when you look at the fixtures and the fixtures throughout the season, if you look at what Liverpool have had to deal with in the last couple of weeks, then I think they would have taken a draw. And of course, when Mahrez gets the penalty, you're going to take the draw. But for Man City, they're going to be able to play Liverpool at home in the second half of the season, and so they go away, and that's a good point for them, isn't it?
Well, for Pep it is. They lost there last year in the league. He himself said, "Look, we drew this year, and perhaps we'll win the next." Not losing was the be-all and end-all for Man City, and you think, right, they should be going into this game because they're the champions, because of the investment in their squad, that they should be going into every game as favourites and winning them. But we've seen last season that going to Liverpool and playing Liverpool, all that stuff, all that bollocks is out the window. So what we actually saw was quite a more pragmatic and thoughtful Man City, who are kind of more concerned with containing and ensuring that the front 3 of Liverpool don't get on the ball and can't damage them. And they did that successfully for 90 minutes. I don't remember a game where they've been less effective, that front 3.
This is what could be really sad about this game is this could be the start of what used to be a really exciting set of games, because you had these 2 teams who went, well, we're brilliant at football, and go, well, we can work harder than any other team in football, and they kind of crashed into each other and they went toe to toe, and it worked out for Liverpool most times. Now Pep's got wise to it. And you saw yesterday in the first 20 minutes of the game how deep Man City played. And the reason they played deep was because it didn't allow the space for Liverpool to counter-attack. They slowed down the game a huge amount. And another reason for that, I think, was if you tried to play quick, tried to play end-to-end, then that works for the midfield 3 that they've got, Liverpool's midfield 3, which is Milner, Wijnaldum and Henderson, because they're all hard work, not the intelligence that the midfield 3 of Man City have.
Think of it like this: they have 51% possession, which is the lowest they've had, I think, under Pep Guardiola since he took over.
Wow.
He understands that at this stage of the season, this is like chess. You don't expect to at the tail end of the season, where every point matters and you've got certain objectives. You have to go for games. You have to. In those semi-finals against Liverpool, it wouldn't have been Pep Guardiola's way to go out and stink the place out. Not that that's what they did, but by their own standards, it wasn't the Man City, free-flowing Man City we've come to expect, because last season we've seen them punished so badly by Liverpool. So he's learned from that, and he's learned about game management, and that's what you'd expect him to do, a coach of his talent. Think of it like a boxer. Two of the best world-level boxers in the world are fighting each other in a bout. Often, the first 5 or 6 rounds is like a chess match. No one wants to give too much, because they know that if they get caught early on, then the fight's over. And it's actually in what they call the championship rounds between 10 and 12, where you start to see the intentions of these championship level boxers. This is the same thing with Liverpool and Man City. No one wanted to play their hand too early, because at the end of the season, you've got the title could be decided on the results between these two. Now, Pep and Man City have the upper hand here, because they drew that game. If they win at the Etihad, then that's 4 points off their rivals, and that could win you the whole thing.
No, I think you're absolutely right. If you're in terms of Liverpool, that they're kind of getting close to the end of this sort of horror run of games that they've had. I think if you're a Liverpool fan, I think you come away with it going, yeah, we're pretty pleased with that.
Away to Chelsea, as I'm sure we'll see over the next season, would be a difficult place to get any points out of. So point there, and to not lose against Man City, you got to take that. But from a Liverpool fans' perspective, I know, Paul, Chris, they go into every game wanting to win, and that's part of what makes Liverpool successful, is that their kind of unified drive towards unequivocal success, regardless of whether they actually get there in the end.
Keeps the title race going. You've got 3 teams now up there, and we'll move on to Chelsea now, who win again. We've got a title race at the moment. Don't say it too loudly, because these teams might kind of start to fall away. And because I think the thing that worries everyone is that Man City, and we were talking about it earlier with Arsenal, Man City will win 95% of the games against the teams outside of the top 6.
As will Liverpool this season, for sure.
Well, I think that's the test. That's the test for a Chelsea and a Liverpool, for them to do it this season. I think, but the way that Chelsea have set up, what you're seeing more and more with this Chelsea squad is a squad that is really suited to the way Sarri wants to play, and none other than Ross Barkley, who was a bit of a mess last year, couldn't kind of get himself sorted out. Good and assisted, had a great game, and you're starting to we've been waiting for him to kind of kick into gear, and maybe under the way that Sarri plays, it might be the time for him to shine.
I think when Sarri came in, you'd have thought that Ross Barkley was one of the first players out the door. He did nothing last season. He coming off in a bad injury period, or unwillingness to pay for Everton, wanted out of the club, and joined Chelsea, and it looked like another one of those signings that he's bought as a kind of British-born periphery player who would do some work in European and cup competitions, and that's it. Sarri's obviously come in, looked at him, and thought, there's a player here, and we all know this is Ross Barkley. And it's become a bit of a joke in recent years that it's Ross Barkley, he's not rated, he never lived up to his hype, but he was always a quality player. He's only his pretty bad injury record that sort of stopped him from really kicking on with England, and he went through a bad period, and so much of football is about the environment around you, the manager that believes in you, and the player and the system that you fit into. And at the moment, for Ross Barkley, things are working, and 15 million looks like a snip, even if there was just six months left on his contract.
Yeah,
I think generally though with Sarri and Chelsea is that it's happened so quickly. It's all clicked into gear so quickly that perhaps they're not even anywhere near.
You do wonder,
they will end up being.
Yeah, Sarri said that when he was at Napoli. He said it when he was at Chelsea. He said this is going to take time for us to kind of figure this out. And again, a bit of a theme of what we've been chatting about today in terms of reviewing the season after 8 games is the fixtures they do play a part. You know, the way that they're set up. You look at Liverpool and the kind of run of games that they've had. Then you look at Man City, who are supposedly going into a tough run of games, but every time they've got a tough game, Spurs, obviously Liverpool, they've played, Man United coming up soon. In between, there's this little sort of stopgap game against a team that's a lot lower down the table, and that helps. Those little things help. When it comes to Chelsea, first 5-6 games of the season for them, Arsenal aside, were nice games, really nice games for them to get themselves going and to get them used to playing the Sarri way. I think with the amount of midfielders that Chelsea have got as well, it shows how Ross Barkley fits the Sarri systems, that people like Fabregas you're seeing a bit less of, Drinkwater as well you're seeing a bit less of. It shows how intense and free-flowing the sort of passing movements of Sarri's team is.
You mentioned those games, and you think Southampton away, Chelsea being what they are, they should be beating them, but they didn't just beat them; they dominated them.
Yeah.
You know, the first 15 minutes they had 85% of possession, and that doesn't mean much if you're not doing anything with the ball. But they were creating brilliant situations, and I think Sarri looked at that Chelsea squad, looked at that left-hand side, and thought, I can do wonders with this. If you've got Alonso, who I genuinely believe is one of the best wing backs and left backs in European football, and you know, if he was playing for Juventus or Real Madrid, he would fit in completely. He would have no issue there. You know, there's a couple of fullbacks or left wing backs I'd put above him, but not many. And then obviously you've got Eden Hazard, who's just on fire, and not just he's not even on fire. He's just playing to his potential. But
he's in a system again that suits him. It's so
you've
quick.
got that left-hand side, and you used to watch Sarri, the way he does it, he'll put so much of the play down that left-hand side, so much so that when the team lines up, it feels too weighted towards one side, and you think it will be easily solved. But when you've got Kante playing an unfamiliar role on the right-hand side of the midfield, doing all of the work to ensure that this left-handed attack works so well, it's it's not fair that Chelsea fans and Arsenal fans are getting all this good stuff, but if you were fans of those teams, you've got to be excited. And if anyone is an outside bet for the league title, it's Chelsea.
Okay, well, yeah, so those three teams, Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool, all on 20 points. Then you've got Arsenal and Spurs, who, again, people aren't talking about. People saying they're in a rut. This has been a good, solid start for you guys. Well, actually, it's been your best start, hasn't it?
Yeah, best start in the Premier League era. Obviously, best start under Pochettino. Lost 2 games, Watford and Liverpool. Everyone else is playing really well and winning. So it's one of those things. I think the worry comes from Spurs fans is that we haven't played well at all season. We're getting results, but we're not playing well. It's not clicked. And we've got horrendous injury problems. We've had to adapt our formations constantly to account for those. We've had to adapt our formations and play players out of position to account for players like Kane, who weren't match fit, who's now coming into being match fit. So, we're still in there. We're 2 points off top as well. I can't see it lasting. I still think we'll finish top 4, but Spurs are what they are. We need to get back into those kind of dominant performances that we saw last season so often. So. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. Our biggest challenge, and this is going to be a horrible season because I'm pretty sure it's going to be between us and Arsenal for that final 4th spot. And I've got used to being above them, so I don't want that to go away.
So there you have it, a bit of a review from the weekend. Let us know what you thought about this kind of slightly different format. Let us know in the comments below if you enjoyed it. Flavio, thank you for joining. Flavio? I just got him Flavio.
Flavio.
Flavio. Might go with that. Yeah, Flavio, thanks for joining.
No worries, I like it.
Yeah, that's good. Stick with us on Ball Street. If you want to stick with us, then you need to hit the subscribe button because we're still, of course, going to talk about Manchester United and Newcastle and Jose Mourinho after that mad comeback on Saturday. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button and we'll see you very soon.